We are here in the great state of Wisconsin, specifically what is soon to be known as the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. As we speak, it's probably about 60 degrees right now, but wait a couple of months, this turf and the field that you see directly behind me is going to be frozen, hence the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Now, to get to Lambeau Field, we started off in Chicago, Illinois at the Hyatt Regency Chicago, compliments of our very dear friend, Jerry Gibson. We then continued on to South Bend, Indiana to watch the visiting Rambling Wreck of Georgia Tech play the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. But wait, there's more. We ended up at Wrigley Field to watch a thriller between the home team, the Chicago Cubs, against the Houston Astros. It was a dynamic two-run homer in the bottom of the 8th inning. Consequently, the Cubs were victors, 6-5. But then we caught a train, ended up at Indianapolis, Indiana to watch the start of the first game of the NFL season between the visiting New Orleans Saints against the world champions Indianapolis Colts. And you all know what happened in that game. But here we are on the frozen tundra, soon to be, of Lambeau Field. Of course, we are here for the home opener between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. Speaking of Green Bay, what better person to tell us more about the great state of Wisconsin and the city of Green Bay than the Honorable Mayor of the city, Mr. Jim Schmidt.
Well, Green Bay is just a wonderful community. Time after time, we win awards for being one of the best places to raise a family, and that's what this is all about here. A community. We have 72 parks in this area. We have a terrific school system. It's just affordable housing. A city that continues to grow with good jobs and good people. So it's a wonderful place to be mayor.
Now, is there a way or a reason or why Green Bay was named Green Bay?
Well, the Green Bay Packers were named after the packaging company. Green Bay, we are here on the bay that, of course, goes out to Lake Michigan. And it's because of the bay and because of the color at times of the bay that it was called Green Bay.
We are now standing on a beautiful, afternoon here in September. Come, I guess, November, December, January, February, is there a way that you can describe to the viewing audience what we'd be talking about as far as weather is concerned?
Well, this is a beautiful day, and I'd like to tell you that we have this kind of weather like you do all year round. But, we'll be shoveling snow here in the next 60 days. We'll get well over 3-4 feet of snow over the winter and some very frigid temperatures. I have kids, and when you dress them for school, it's snow pants and many layers, because not only does it get cold, 0 degrees, but with the wind, it can sometimes, 20, 30 below zero with the wind chill factor. So we very much enjoy this weather we're having today.
Now, when you say will be, you're talking, of course, of your county workers, or does Jim Schmidt, the mayor, actually does some shoveling himself?
Oh, no, believe me, I got a shovel too. I live right downtown here, and we have sidewalks, and residents are responsible for shoveling their own sidewalks and driveways, and we also have a series of snow plows, and we get out and clear the streets. But that's all part of the 4 seasons we have in this wonderful community.
So, Mayor Schmidt, tell the viewing audience perhaps a little bit about your background as far as how you became the mayor.
Well, I've been very fortunate. I grew up in Wisconsin. I was educated here at one of our liberal arts colleges, and spent some time in the Chicago area, and then out in Southern California, and moved back here because of the reasons I talked about. To really have a family and to live in a community that's so tightly knit. I also have a great love for the Green Bay Packers, quite honestly. And I was in the paper business, which is large in this community. We, as they say, we wipe the world. We make a lot of toilet paper. We make a lot of paper products here in Green Bay. And I was also in the paper business, and I took a great interest in politics because I just wanted to contribute back to this community somehow. And I was elected mayor in 2003 and just recently re-elected in 2007.
Well, on behalf of all of us that need your products to wipe the world, we personally want to thank you on that note. Now, you mentioned a little bit about spending some time in Chicago. What a great, great, great city. One of the hugest city. Incredible architecture, incredible business. You also talked a little bit about Southern California. Did a lot of your, perhaps your thoughts being in a big city like Chicago, or maybe in a laid-back atmosphere of California, influence some of your decisions as to how Green Bay is presently run?
Yes, the city of Green Bay is kind of a hardworking, blue-collar community, yet we have a wonderful waterfront. We have the Fox River, which is right behind us here, and something that has been more industrial. And when you look at some other cities, I think you can get a waterfront with mixed use. You can have some condominiums, some retail, some residential. And I've been working very hard on that. And as you can see along the waterfront, there's significant construction. We have a new festival grounds that was dedicated a couple years ago along the waterfront. And large cities have developed their waterfront successfully, and it's something that we're working on here. We've been at that for the last 5 years, and we'll continue that.
You know, Mayor Schmidt, interestingly, you mentioned the Fox River. From a little bit about what I gathered, I've been told, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the Fox River is one of the few, if not the only rivers, in Northern America that actually flows north.
Yes,
how does that work?
I don't know how it works, but that's a true statement. It is the only one, and it's something you don't really notice when you're here, but something interesting about the river. And we have quite a bit of traffic on the river. Like I said, we do have some industrial, but boaters come to see this, and we develop our waterfront with some attractive areas and places for boating and biking and recreation. I think we're going to have a very successful waterfront.
I'm proudly wearing a hat, if we can get a little close-up of the logo of this wonderful hat, given to me by the Honorable Mayor of the City of Green Bay, Jim Schmidt. Tell the viewing audience a little bit about what this logo is about regarding the hat.
Well, after I was elected in 2003, we had our sesquicentennial coming up. The city, founded in 1854, in 2004 celebrated our 150th anniversary as a city. I redesigned the logo, and in our logo we have the Green Bay Packer logo, which is part of our community. There's the tower on there is Bay Beach, which is an amusement park that actually attracts more tourists than the Green Bay Packers. It's a wonderful amusement park we have, 20-cent rides, a whole park area. And then we have one of our bridges on there. The city of Green Bay has the Fox River running through the city, and we have about half the city living on the east side, half on the west side. The tallest bridge that we have is the Leo Frigo Bridge, and we named that after Leo Frigo, one of the fathers of our community who was in the cheese business. We have a lot of dairy here, and sold his business, and instead of taking the money and going someplace with it, he started a food pantry here for the needy. And we do have needy people in northeast Wisconsin, and it's been a very successful food pantry. His name is Leo Frigo, so we dedicated the Leo Frigo Bridge in his honor, and it's part of our logo to show people that it's a community that really cares and really tries to connect people and the east side and west side of our community.
I would just imagine 150 years of history. If you break it down by a half a century, 50 years, the next 50 years, the next 50 years, and the present 50 years, you would be safe to say that there's been quite a few changes within Green Bay and Wisconsin itself.
Yeah, it really has. The city, if you look at 50 years ago, the foundation of our city still holds true today. I mean, it was founded by good people who, contributed, through philanthropy, through, people who were in need, but the paper industry was here, one of our first industries, and they're still very strong here. In our top 5 employers, 2 of them are still paper companies. They employ thousands of people, and that still holds true today. Julius Bellin, who was a leader in heart surgery, and of course our tallest building in town is the Bellin Building, and healthcare has grown here. We have 4 major hospitals. So those are all things that started, back in the early 1900s that we continue here today, and we've grown on that. We're also enjoying many of the other new industries that have started as well, but we're still kind of who we were back then, a hardworking community that is big into healthcare and big into light and paper manufacturing.
Well, judging by the people that we've chatted with, you're a very, very popular mayor. Have you ever been to the island of Kauai, and what do you know about Kauai?
I don't know much about it. We get to see your pictures, and we have friends who visit there that send us back pictures, and we're very envious of you, especially in these winter months we were talking about. So someday I sure hope to come to visit you.
Well, we don't provide paper goods for many, many reasons like you folks. So we don't have a lot of cheeseheads, but we do have a lot of great, great, beautiful people, beautiful flowers, beautiful babies, beautiful ocean, beautiful scenery, and we look forward to seeing Mrs. Schmidt, yourself, your family here. And please share your aloha to those that may someday visit you, not only in Green Bay, but fortunately or unfortunately in the winter months, which will then be the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field.
Well, we sure invite you to come to Green Bay. We have a wonderful community. We have a lot to do here for a lot of different people. And while you live in probably the place that you think is best, there's other places that are nice to visit. And we sure invite your community to come and visit us. And thank you for being here. You seem like a very nice person, and I'm sure you represent your community well, like I do for the city of Green Bay. So everybody, just is that your wave? Because ours is go Pack. But that's your wave, and we thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in your hometown soon.
Beautiful. That was our Honorable Mayor, Jim Schmidt. And don't go away. Speaking of Go Pack, when we come back, we're going to tailgate Packer style, and we're also going to be taking you to the Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame. So don't go away, gang. More from the beautiful city of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Aloha.
Feel the beauty of this sign up, down from the beaches to the highest mountain. Different people living as one, in harmony under the sun on the island, in the middle of the sea.
Puakea Golf Course. Call for your tee times today.
Aloha, I'm Barbara Bennett, owner and publisher of the Island's monthly community magazine, For Kauai. Available at newsstands, mailed to you by request, or at the Honolulu and Lihue airports. I invite you to join our local residents and read our stories. All local, all community, all Kauai. Read For Kauai magazine on our website, forkauaionline.com, with more feature stories, videos, daily calendar, and local news that will excite and interest you. Visit us daily, weekly on the web, and monthly in print. Mahalo and aloha.
Welcome back. We hope that you're enjoying reminiscing and seeing what the city of Green Bay is all about. Again, very disappointed Packer fan. Of course, it'll be the Seahawks against the Patriots. Let's head back on over to Green Bay. There we caught up with my very dear friend, longtime buddy itself, Chuck Lane, the former director of public relations for the Green Bay Packers, as he tells us a little bit about the Green Bay Packers and, of course, the Packer Hall of Fame. Big mahalo out to the mayor of the great city of Green Bay, Jim Schmidt. Now, prior to entering Lambeau Field, we had an opportunity to check out the Packer Hall of Fame. And boy, oh boy, if you're a Green Bay Packer fan, the Packer Hall of Fame is like nothing else that you can ever imagine. Here to tell us a little bit more about the Hall of Fame is a longtime dear friend of mine, the former public relations director, Mr. Chuck Lane.
Well, it's an opportunity to really learn a lot about probably the most colorful franchise in the history of the National Football League. They've been in business since 1919. That's even older than you and I. In any event, actually 1922 when they got their franchise. But it's actually the only team that's operating in the same city in which they were founded. Chicago Bears were the Decatur Staleys before that. The Detroit Lions came from a town called Portsmouth, Ohio. Green Bay always has been in Green Bay because this is one of the originals and the longest lasting franchise, owned by the people that live in this area, myself included. We don't get anything for our ownership of stock, $100 donation, that's all what it is. But they're about, I think they're 10, 15,000 of us.
You know, win, lose, or draw, it just seems that not only the people of Green Bay, but really the people of the nation embrace the Green Bay Packers. What's the mystique or the aura of the Green Bay Packers?
Well, I think it's a small town America. It's probably one of the most successful franchises. It's a franchise that's devoted entirely to winning football games. There's no millionaire, billionaire owner. Everything is plowed back into the franchise for the betterment of the team. And it's small town America, seriously. Small town competing against the big city, and that's certainly an attraction. But during the 60s, the Green Bay Packers really were the team in which that was known for its success. The advent of television, and when the Packers were winning, television was growing, and we put those three championships together at the same time that the television was really making the National Football League what it is today.
Now, tell us a little bit about a game that many sports fans remember, which would be considered perhaps the Ice Bowl.
Yeah, well, that was. And it was as miserable as everybody says it was. 13 below, windy, chilly, ground was frozen, hard as this concrete that we're standing on right here. Never forget, I went out on the field, and we have an electrical heating system underneath the turf. And somebody had left a tarp on too long, and the ground did not have a chance to breathe with this electrical current coming through it. And they peeled the tarp off, and the field froze. And you could see it if you watch those old movies as the frost kept creeping towards the south end zone where Starr eventually scored his touchdown. But in any event, it wasn't working. The coaches were terrified to tell Coach Lombardi, I'm 23 years old. You go in there, tell Coach Lombardi. Well, you think I told him that that his family had passed or something of that sort. He was just all irate because his famous electrical heating system had failed. But we ended up winning the ball game. But boy, it was nip and tuck, and people were sliding all over the place, and it was really miserable playing conditions.
Well, Chuck Lane, hearing from what I'm hearing, Were you the public relations director for the Green Bay Packers at a ripe young age of 23? And if so, how did all of that stuff happen?
Just plain blind luck, I think it was, Dickie. I was working in Minneapolis. I was working for the president of the Minnesota Vikings, Max Winter, who has a lot of Hawaiian roots, by the way, owns some property on Oahu. But Max was the president of the Minnesota Vikings, and he also promoted Globetrotter basketball with Abe Saperstein throughout the continental United States. I don't know if they got over to Hawaii or not, but I only had the upper Midwest and Canada. So I'm 23 years old, or actually 21 years old, working for Max Winter, promoting Globetrotter basketball, and working the weekends with the Minnesota Vikings. And I had an opportunity to get to know a lot of the people in the NFL, and I was promoting a Globetrotter game in Green Bay, and I came over here to the stadium on the way. I thought, yeah, time to get a cup of coffee. So I walked in and just, said hello to my old friends that I met on weekends over there. And they got to talking about, opportunities and what was I up to. And I said, well, I was interviewing for the PR job with the Vikings, but I didn't think I was going to get it. And I was told by Tom Miller, who is recently deceased, I said, said, if this job were open here, would you be interested? I said, I sure would be. Well, come to find out, Jim Finks, general manager of the Vikings, was at a league meeting with Coach Lombardi. And Coach Lombardi had asked Finks, said, what do you know about this Lane guy? Jim said, I think you ought to hire him. I get a call from Tom Miller and said, Coach Lombardi wants to hire you. When can you be in Green Bay? And I tell you what, my feet didn't touch the ground. I could hardly wait to get up here and accept the position. It was absolutely a wonderful opportunity. Young, opened gates then, opened doors, and I tell you, still doing it.
And on an interesting note, probably one of the greatest all-time football rivalries would have to be the Chicago Bears against the Green Bay Packers. And you see a lot of really touching things about them needing to hate one another. But in true life, was Vince Lombardi and George Papa Bear Halas, were they cordial?
They were the best of friends. But it was really a colorful relationship. Paul Hornung tells the story that he's in the locker room once, and the players, the two locker rooms are right next to each other in the old stadium. And Paul was in there, and he said he heard a tap, tap, tap on the door, and he didn't know what it was. So he opened the door, and here stands Coach Halas. And he looks at him, he said, Hornung, does Lombardi have you guys ready to play? Yes, sir, he does. Well, you tell him that we're going to kick his ass. So there was all that interplay that went on. But Lombardi and Halas were very, very close. Halas was really remarkably close to the Green Bay Packers when they were in 1950s, late 50s, when they were in their last stock sale, when they were building this stadium. Halas was one of the major proponents, major selling forces to make sure that Green Bay stayed where they were. Been a very good competitive relationship, but and it's also been kind of a love-hate relationship. One of the greatest rivalries in the National Football League. Although those dreaded Vikings are making up for it. They're getting pretty close. A lot of people certainly know about Vince Lombardi. He's probably one of the most famous coaches worldwide. But the gentleman that really saved the Green Bay Packer franchise is Curly Lambeau. He was with the original. He started as a player, played at Notre Dame, came up here, had some physical difficulties, came up here and founded the Green Bay Packer football team, the Indian Packers, then the Acme Packers. Both franchises folded, and they couldn't afford to buy new uniforms, so they thought, well, let's keep the team in town, but let's call them the Green Bay Packers. So Curly was the coach and played, and also they trained at a place called Rockwood Lodge, which is about 30 miles north of here, up along the bay. Beautiful, beautiful spot. But they had a big lodge up there, and that's where the coaches and players always stayed. And Curly held the purse strings for the Green Bay Packers, and they were having franchise problems all the time, financial problems. The place mysteriously burned down a couple of times, and they saved the franchise with the insurance money. How it happened, nobody knows. It's a mysterious thing.
This community of Green Bay and the state of Wisconsin, is it safe to say that everybody kind of lives, breathes, and worships and waits till Sunday to see the Packers win, lose, or draw?
Without a fact, you'll see a bit of it Sunday when you come to the ball game. But yeah, we're a small town. We're the 70th largest television market. We're about the same size as Toledo, Ohio. But I think more people probably know of Green Bay and the Packers than they do about what goes on in Toledo, which probably isn't much after the sun sets. But in any event, this is a city that's really dedicated to football, to the competitive part of it, and the Green Bay Packers. We are embraced by the nation as well. So it really is a unique franchise in a unique city.
Aloha Kauai, prior to kickoff, if you're a diehard Green Bay Packer fan, what are you going to do? You're probably going to have to wish and attempt a Lambeau leap. Let's see if I can pull this off with the help of some of our brand new friends here in Green Bay. Okay, we're here with some of the Lambeau Leap end zone guys. First off, season ticket holder, what's your name?
Greg Bino.
And
I'm Rob.
Jim.
Oh yeah.
now let me ask you, have you ever caught a player or maybe a ball or something like that?
2 years ago, we got a football, Brett Favre to David Martin touchdown pass. He came right here. He handed us the ball.
And now let me ask you guys, you look like hardy Midwest boys that love to enjoy beers and stuff like that. If an opposing player tried to do the leap, what do you guys do? Like beat them up or throw beers at them, or what's the etiquette?
He'd get tossed right back on his butt.
Okay, well, we'd like to thank the fans right over here. Why don't you give our friends over here a big aloha?
Aloha!
The Lambeau Leap will be right back. Aloha.